There is a disturbing new survey out today from the Public Religion Research Institute on QAnon conspiracy theories. Over 5,000 adults from all 50 states were questioned. This poll found 15% of all Americans, 23% of Republicans surveyed say they agree with this statement, and we quote, "The government, media, and financial worlds in the U.S. are controlled by a group of Satan-worshiping pedophiles who run a global child sex trafficking operation." 20% of all Americans, along with 28% of Republicans, said they agree, quote, "There is a storm coming soon that will sweep away the elites in power and restore the rightful leaders." So we thought of only one man. That's Clint Watts, former FBI special agent, distinguished research fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute, and our national security analyst, also happens to be the author of Messing with the Enemy, Surviving in a Social Media World of Hackers, Terrorists, Russians, and Fake News. And Clint, I got one more for you. Almost a third of Republicans agree that, quote, "True American patriots may have to resort to violence in order to save our country." I'm betting all of this gets your attention.
That's right, Brian. One of the things that we always wonder with social media and influence, these propaganda and disinformation campaigns, is does it ever really result in any sort of physical mobilization or violence? And I think the evidence is quite clear. January 6th was a mass demonstration of how an entire group of people can be inculcated in a alternative reality that's completely false and be pushed to violence under pretenses that are completely nonsensical. QAnon is nothing more than crowdsourced crazy. There is nothing to it other than things that are made up by anonymous people, and yet it's become its own belief system, really its own religion to a degree. It's believed by as many people as some religions in the United States at this point. And yet it's been debunked. HBO has done a special on this. Any of us can watch it. Any QAnon supporter can watch it. And when you trace out the lineage of really what that movement was, it is clearly not real. It is false. There is no Q. There is no secret plot. And what happens is we crash into these reality horizons over time, which ultimately lead in people dying, law enforcement officers at the Capitol being surrounded. A commission that needs to be conducted. And yet here we are not really rectifying these problems, and still QAnon lives long after Trump's defeat.
While fueled by grievance largely, as I think you'd agree, one point you're always so good on is pointing out that Russia must be so psyched. They spent about $20 to help Brexit along. They find a U.S. president who comes out against NATO and weakens the Atlantic Alliance. And now we are tearing each other apart, which was part of their kind of low-budget wish list years ago.
That's exactly right. It is a populist information rebellion on steroids now. And they understood that art. They always understood that if they could pursue active measures with just throwing a match in a powder keg, where they pitted different poles politically, socially, economically in the United States against each other, if we fought each other, we could not fight them. And it breaks up every union along the way, from NATO, the EU, and now inside our own United States. What's remarkable, I think, about how this works is, yes, it's partly social media and the information environment. That's what the connective tissue is that brings all these people together. But separately, it's also about real people. It's about President Trump. It is about General Mike Flynn, who takes an oath, essentially pledging allegiance to QAnon. And it's about bringing all those people to a physical location. I think my worry is that as long as this phenomenon continues, the conspiracy goes on unabated. This artificial reality that's been created in the social media space, why will we not see mobilizations again in the future if we don't have a commission, if we don't see the prosecutions that we need coming to those that entered the Capitol? Why wouldn't this happen at a state or local area? Why wouldn't every election be contested? And that right there is what the Russians wanted in the beginning, which was to undermine democracy and get us to not believe in it as a form of governance, to really become apathetic about what is the greatest form of government in the world and what we achieved as a country.